Okay, so this is a little different. I thought of this idea of like sharing some of the craziest, wildest stories that I've ever read in the Bible, and kind of like condensing it, like doing like a condensed version of the story and like posting on my page, because the only thing I really post on my page are like pictures of myself. I thought this was kind of like creative, Christ-centered, cool, maybe funny if you think I'm funny. I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing it, but tonight I just wanted to talk about a wild story that I've read in the Bible. It's the story of Judah and Tamar, and I think for me as a young person, sometimes it can be hard to read the Bible because you think like it's gonna be boring and like super long and there's nothing interesting in the Bible, but there's actually some pretty interesting things in the Bible and some pretty interesting stories. So tonight I just want to like talk about one that was interesting to me. So the story of Judah and Tamar can be found in Genesis chapter 38. But the story starts off with Judah. Judah has 3 sons. His oldest son's name is I believe, E-R. So he arranges for his oldest son, to marry this woman named Tamar. So it says that was a wicked man and the Lord took his life. So Er's gone. He's out of here, dunzo. So then Judah arranges for the second oldest, who is Onan, to marry Tamar, because it was law during that time that the brother of the brother that died would produce an heir for his dead brother. But Onan didn't really like the fact that he had to produce an heir that wasn't going to be his own heir. So every time him and Tamar did their thing, he would make it so that they wouldn't have children. Like he would sabotage it so she would never get pregnant. The Lord thought this was evil and took his life. So now Judah's down to 1 son, his youngest son, whose name is Shelah. And Judah told Tamar to go back to her home, and that he would send for her once Shelah was old enough to be able to marry her. In the back of Judah's mind, like he knew the real reason he was sending her away was because he didn't want her to marry his youngest son, because at this point all his sons have died. So he probably thinking like, this chick must be cursed. She keep killing my kids. Years go on. Judah's wife dies, and after the mourning period, Judah and his friend were set out to go to a place called Timnah. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but Timnah, I think, to supervise the shearing of his sheep. So somebody told Tamar that they were going to this place, and Tamar was like, that's interesting, because I know his youngest son is now old enough to marry me, but he didn't send nobody to come and get me. There's no ring on my finger. So it's really upsetting me and my homegirls that you like playing with me. Like I'm supposed to be married right now. So when Tamar finds this out, she goes and changes out of her widow's clothes and puts on a veil to disguise herself. Then she goes and sits beside the road at the entrance to a village that was on the road to Timnah, which is where Judah and his friend was going. So when Judah was on the way there, he noticed Tamar, not knowing that it's Tamar because she has this veil on, and he thinks she's a prostitute. So Judah goes up and like propositions her like, hey, what's up? You wanna, and so Tamar was like, how much you gonna pay me? You know what I'm saying? Like, run me that money. So then Judah was like, what you want? Like, I'll give you my youngest goat. And Tamar was like, I need a guarantee that you're gonna give me your goat, because you don't got the goat with you right now, so I need to know like for sure that you're gonna give me the goat. And Judah was like, what you want? And so Tamar was like, run me your cord, run me your identification seal, and run me your staff. Judah's like, okay, bet, and gives her that stuff. They do their thing, they part ways, he continues on his journey. Tamar goes back to her place, changes out of her prostitution clothes, I guess, and puts back on her widow's clothes. Later on, Judah sent his friend to go bring Tamar the young goat that he promised her. But when Judah's friend went into town, he couldn't find her. And then he asked some village people, like, y'all know this prostitute, like, you know, sitting on the side of the road, the girl for the streets, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, no, we don't have no prostitutes around this part. And so he was like, okay. So then he went back to Judah, told Judah he couldn't find her. And Judah was like, just forget it, let her keep my stuff. And we can't go back a second time because we're going to look stupid trying to find this prostitute and give her a go. 3 months goes by. 3 months go by. And Judah finds out that Tamar is pregnant and that she acted as a prostitute. So when Judah finds this out, he's like all up in arms, like, oh, she needs to burn for this. Like, we need to kill her, blah, blah, blah. As they're taking Tamar out to kill her, Tamar sends a message to Judah saying that the man who, the baby daddy, is the owner of these 3 things. So look closely at these 3 things before y'all burn me like a shish kebab. The owner is the baby daddy. Once Judah looks at those 3 things, he immediately recognizes it and realizes that it's his. So Judah was like, all right, y'all, you know what? You know, we don't really need to have a bonfire tonight. Nobody needs to die. And he said that she's more righteous than me because I never arranged for her to marry my youngest son. And they didn't kill her. And Judah never slept with her again. This story is just so wow. Like, Tamar went to some extreme lengths to make sure Judah did right by her. And at the end of the day, like, he was wrong and knew that what he did was wrong. That was the story, and it goes on and talks about how she had twins and stuff like that. And you can read some more about it. But that is my wow story of the day, I guess. And like I said, if you want to learn more about it, maybe you want to like fact check me, you can read it for yourself. Genesis chapter 38.